The texture of a corporate security badge is smooth, cold, and deceptively heavy. When you press it against the turnstile every morning at 8:45 a.m., it emits a reassuring, high-pitched beep. That sound is a psychological anchor. It tells your brain that you belong here, that you are protected, and that as long as you show up, the machinery of corporate America will take care of you. Every 2 weeks, a predictable sequence of numbers lands in your checking account. It is the exact amount required to maintain your life. The mortgage on the suburban home, the lease on the German sedan, the artisan groceries, and the modest index fund contribution. You feel secure. You feel like you've won the game that your parents told you to play. But if you look closely at that sequence of numbers, you realize something terrifying. It all comes from a single source. One company, one boss, one board of directors, one shift in a corporate balance sheet. You aren't secure. You are running an economic simulation with a single point of failure. And in engineering, a single point of failure is considered a design flaw. In finance, relying on one income stream isn't security. It is high-risk gambling. Most people reading the headlines today think this doesn't apply to them. They see the layoffs in tech, the shifting landscape of media, and the rise of automation, and they assume they are insulated. They believe their specialized degree, their decade of loyalty, or their specific industry protects them. It doesn't. We have been conditioned to believe that having a full-time job is the safest way to live, while starting a side asset or building equity is dangerous. This is a massive psychological inversion. If you own a business and have 50 clients, losing one is a bad Tuesday. It hurts, but your system survives. If you have a corporate job, you have exactly one client. If they decide to downsize, your revenue drops by exactly 100%. You are instantly out of business. Let's look at the hidden mechanism behind this illusion. Historically, the social contract was simple. You gave 35 years of your life to an organization, and they gave you a pension, healthcare, and stability. That contract died in the late 20th century, but our cultural psychology never updated. We are still operating on the software of 1980 while living in the economic hardware of today. Think about the timeline of a modern corporate career. You spend your 20s building specialized skills for a specific firm. By your 30s, your income rises, but so do your fixed liabilities. You buy the house, you start the family. Your lifestyle naturally expands to absorb your new earnings. This is the high earner treadmill. But here is the uncomfortable math that nobody talks about. As your salary increases, your cost to the company increases, but your marginal utility often plateaus. To a spreadsheet in a corporate office 3 states away, you are no longer a person. You are a line item. You are an expensive asset that can be optimized. If a macroeconomic shift occurs, or if an algorithmic model proves that your department can run at 60% capacity, the decision to eliminate your position takes less than 30 seconds. It requires a single click on a PDF document. When that happens, the illusion shatters. The car payment stays the same. The mortgage doesn't drop by 100%. The grocery bill doesn't pause. The fixed costs of your life remain completely rigid, while your inflows become entirely fluid. This is why the traditional concept of frugality is a trap. You cannot cut enough lattes or cancel enough streaming subscriptions to compensate for a structural collapse of your revenue. Standard financial channels will tell you to build a 6-month emergency fund. They tell you to hide in a defensive crouch and wait for the storm to pass. But an emergency fund is just a countdown timer. It doesn't solve the systemic flaw, it merely delays the inevitable. True financial resilience doesn't come from defense, it comes from asymmetric offense. You have permission to stop treating your job as your identity. You have permission to view your employer not as a family, but as your primary venture capital investor. They are funding your life so that you can build assets outside of their walls. The strategy shift is simple, but it requires a complete rewiring of your risk tolerance. You must stop trading 100% of your energy for a single paycheck. You need to view your time as a portfolio. The takeaway here isn't to quit your job tomorrow and launch a reckless startup. That is the exact kind of high-stakes gambling we are trying to avoid. The repeatable action is to decouple your survival from your employment. You start by dedicating just 5 hours a week to building an independent asset. It could be digital infrastructure, a service business, or equity in cash-flowing assets. The nature of the vehicle matters less than the architecture of the system. The goal is to create a secondary revenue stream that operates independently of your corporate badge. When you have a second stream, even if it only covers 30% of your fixed costs, something profound changes in your brain. Your posture changes, your anxiety drops. Your risk tolerance at your main job actually increases because you no longer view your manager as the sole gatekeeper of your children's future. You stop playing scared. The market doesn't care about your loyalty. It doesn't care about your tenure, your hard work, or the late nights you spent finishing that presentation. The market only cares about value and leverage. If you rely on a single income stream, you have zero leverage. You are selling your time in a monopoly market where the buyer holds all the cards. This isn't just a personal finance strategy. This is a structural redefinition of the middle class. The old definition of the middle class was defined by what you consumed: the suburban home, the 2 cars, the stable job. The new reality is that the middle class is being divided into 2 distinct groups: the leveraged and the vulnerable. If you depend on one source of income, you are not wealthy, no matter how high that salary is. You are simply a highly paid temporary contractor waiting for your contract to expire. True wealth is not about the size of your paycheck. It is about the diversification of your survival. The next time you press that smooth plastic badge against the corporate turnstile and hear that comforting beep, don't feel secure, feel motivated. Recognize the system for what it actually is: a highly volatile environment where your safety is an illusion, and your only real protection is the assets you build for yourself when the clock runs out.